Which would you prefer to have first? Love or respect?
Respect takes into consideration more about my character and who I am and what I stand for and what I'm about. People can love for different reasons. They can love for infatuation. But if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, do I respect them? When I am engaging with people, it's based off of respect first, right? Are they treating me the way I would like to be treated? Are they stepping me correctly? And am I treating them the way they would like to be treated? And that's the respect factor. And you're not going to know that until you actually are in engagement with somebody.
I feel like you can have respect without love, but you can't have love without respect. My approach to life in general has been to not participate in the negativity. If people show up and just are vomiting hatred and negativity, it doesn't take very long to realize that people will leave. You will detract those individuals, and that's been true for me. Welcome everyone to the Teevee Show podcast. My name is Teevee, and this is
Chris Sam.
And this is the this show within a show that we're calling When Brothers Talk, although I'm considering actually calling it Men Talking About Their Emotions.
Considering.
Because we end up talking a lot about emotions.
Considering.
Let's be real. Men have emotions, and I wonder why. Is it because we're humans? And humans have emotions? I don't know. Anyways, just a thought, like we're just being human. At any rate, where do we move on from here? Oh, yes. So the top question of the day, the one we're going to lead with and see where it takes us, because we tend to get really chatty.
We do. And
jump off of subtopics, which I anticipate with this. And this is a question that I actually saw in a group chat amongst men in Dallas. I liked it. I answered it, but also would love to extrapolate on that because I think it's a fascinating question. The question was this: which would you prefer to have first, love or respect?
Are you going to answer or am I going to take?
I'm going to let you take the lead on this.
Okay.
Chris, and then I'll respond to you and disagree wholeheartedly about everything you say because, yeah.
Would I rather have love or respect first? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that was a question.
Well, I think at the onset, I prefer respect.
Why?
Why?
Yes.
Because respect takes into consideration more about my character and who I am and what I stand for and what I'm about. Love could be, people can love for different reasons. They can love for infatuation. They can love for convenience. I think people can love, and for me personally, I think love is a choice. Let me backtrack. Respect first, love second. But ideally, I want both, right? Like, this is not an either or thing. You said first. So ideally, I want, but if I'm meeting somebody for the first time,
right? Okay, that's a good
do
context.
I respect them, right? Because if I'm just head over heels, that's pure infatuation. And infatuation without respect doesn't go well in the long term. Or love without respect doesn't go well in the long term.
That might just be lust.
It might just be lust, right?
Right.
But then even lust with respect, I think, can blossom into something. Right? So I think respect's important because it has to deal with the character of the person, or what they stand for, who they're about, where they're trying to go in life. Are they in alignment with you? All those different type of things. Now, I think that's under, like, I don't know the context. Are we talking about in a romantic sense? Are we talking about a friend? Like, as a friend, I respected you before we became friends. Right? Just from how you were in the community and all that stuff. And then we became friends, and then brotherly love ensued, right? So for me, without getting too long-winded, I would say respect and love in that order.
I agree, obviously. But I think, and this is something we can do here in a second, is pull away what is love and what is respect. I think, and this is the way I answered, if I remember correctly, the way I answered it in the group.
Pull up your response?
Not yet. First off, everyone deserves respect, so I give people respect. Respect is just, I see you for who you are, I respect you as a human being, and we start from there. That is like baseline for me. I am more respectful of individuals who are consistent with who they say they are, or pretend to be, or personify in the real world who they are, or even in the online world. I respect people who are consistent. That's how they keep the respect. What I actually respect individuals I don't agree with. I respect people that may have polarizing opinions that are opposite of mine. The key to me is that they're consistent. Where I lose respect for a lot of people is when they say they are one thing, they act in one way, but then when things get sticky, muddy, when decisions have to be made on the fly, they're not consistent with that. And it's just convenient. That's where there is disrespect. So I feel like it's important to unpack those two terms. So everyone for me gets respect. I want to be respected first because that means you see me as an individual, you understand where I'm coming from, and hopefully I've earned the privilege of maintaining that respect because I don't, especially on the stuff that's essential, the values, the things that matter the most in the world. I feel like we should have obviously have the opportunity to change our minds, but then calling it out and saying, "Hey, I changed my mind on that thing." All right, but I guess for me, it's just important to really identify what respect is. So I respected you before I met you. I obviously respected your skill. I saw your skill. I saw your personality. I respected the way people engaged with you. And you were just consistent, too. Every time I saw you, you were that person. And you've been that person ever since. Obviously, now I know you more intimately. We're close friends, so we know things about each other that nobody else knows. And even then, you're consistent with it. So you have my respect. Love, I think, so I say all that to say, I feel like you can have respect without love, but you can't have love without respect. Thus, you need to be respected first before you're loved. Yes, go ahead.
So I think respect, all of us here can kind of easily identify what a good working definition of respect is.
Right.
What is a good working definition of love for you?
Now that one, I think is just, it's not as easy to define.
Yeah.
I can say I love my parents. Mm-hmm. I love my children. I love my partner. I love you. I can say that confidently. I love my friends in my close inner circle. What does that mean? To love is that I have a respect for you, and I hurt when you hurt. I'm happy when you're happy. I want to help when you're in a time of need. I want to show up. I want to support. I feel as if you're a part of my family, right? You're an extension of my family. To me, that's what love is. And there is the level of, I don't want to say it's superficial, but that we love a lot of people, and it's not as intimate of love, not a close circle, but I love a lot of individuals. Because we don't have a word. I like a lot of people, but at a deeper level, we don't have a word for that without being like, oh, that's my lover or that's my best friend.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I had a lot of thoughts as you were talking.
Okay.
But I think for me, trying to give it a more concrete definition.
I want, because love is amorphous almost, and depending on what culture you come from, what country, what generation, is people are going to have a different definition. Yeah. And I'll even add before you continue, it's almost as if somebody did this exercise in some workshop I was in. It's like, what's pretty, right?
Beauty in the eye of the beholder.
What is, like, no one's going to really agree. Now there's some consistent societal standards of beauty. But outside of that, it's hard to say, oh, no one's going to have the same answer. So,
no, exactly. No one's going to have the same answer. So I think that's something you define for yourself. And before I answer the love question, I'm going to just backtrack real quick on the respect.
Okay.
Real quick. I'm going to tie it
You better
together.
make it quick.
I know.
We're already past that.
I know, but I think it ties in beautifully because, like you said, you respect consistency, right? And at least for me, consistency can only occur because I know thyself. Right? So I know how I can show up in a way that I want to show up in almost every situation. Life presents a lot of novel situations all the time, but I try to be consistent in how I interact with life and with its experiences. So
Keep talking.
So that's with that. Now, when we move on to the topic of love, how can you love in a consistent manner? I think for me, like when I think about my parents and my friends that I love and all these things, I do my best to create a space where they can be unconditionally themselves and I can be unconditionally myself. And then we just see if there's alignment, right? Like, fortunately for you and me, there's a lot of space between us, right? In terms of time, in terms of frequency.
Yes,
Because,
yes.
you have a whole different lifestyle than I do, right? So we're not always talking all the time, but when we do connect, there's an atmosphere of openness, of acceptance where we can share, and that's what allows us to go into deep areas and know each other very intimately. And creating that container takes energy. Creating that container takes time and takes intention. And I think when you're able to consistently do those things for people, that is a baseline form of love. That's what my parents do for me. That's what I do for people that I genuinely love. I want them to. Now, everything else that may come into that is only going to be a derivative of time and energy. And, those are very, very limited, especially in the lives that we live. Right. So those have to be, rationed out accordingly. So I think that's what it is. But you couple that with respect. So, for example, let's take a relationship. You have the respect there. So if you're with a spouse or something, you're not going to let her do all the work. And she's not going to. You're going to split. You're going to do things together, right? That's why you formed a union, almost like a business. You have responsibilities and stuff that you're going to take together. Right. The love comes in how you handle those responsibilities. We've all been at jobs where you can do the same job, do it happy, you can do it glad, you can do it mad. But because I have love, I'm going to do it in a way that takes care of your happiness and soul while we're traversing on this line. Right? Because why are you in this if you're upset? Why are you this? Not saying that we're not going to have points of contention, but I'm creating this container where we can fight comfortably and go back to love, where we can laugh openly, where we can be as we are. So I think that's a very intentional aspect of love.
Which I think leads to, when do you know you love? When can you love? And I think you said it, like when you feel like you're in a place where you're being allowed to operate wholeheartedly, when you're allowed to be yourself.
Because otherwise you have a representative, you have a persona, you have, and I don't, and personally, like, I'm very fortunate, like quite a few people have said that about me, like I'm very consistent, and that's because I'm just who I am.
Yeah.
Right.
I find it to be easier, right? To be easier who you are, because I'm going to say this before I continue. I read a book recently that I really loved, and actually haven't finished the book, but he said something at the beginning that was fascinating to me because it's true. And he said that there's three basic, it may have been four, but three that I remember, basic principles about human beings. Number one, we're all insecure. I don't care who you are, you're insecure. You may pretend like you're not, but when you're alone deep at night and nobody's around, you're going to let your guard down and you're going to feel, right? So knowing that for me is important. I don't care who you are. I don't care how confident you are portraying yourself in the real world, which is awesome.
You don't know me, son.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know me.
Shout out to Goggins. Number two, we all wear a mask. Go as far as to say we wear multiple masks. We have to. When we go to work, when we do our job, we have a mask. I am a marketer in some context. I am a business owner. I am a father. I wear a different mask. And I would like to believe that as a father, I'm able to take off the mask and also be vulnerable and be honest. But so we wear a mask. And number three is many people don't even know they're wearing a mask.
So I have points.
So what a big point I wanted to make, please hold that thought, I want to hear it, is we want to be in a place where we can take our mask off, where we can be as vulnerable, as honest, as raw, as like, and real as possible without feeling like we're going to get shitted on. My daughters can come here and know that they can be their truest selves because they have to live in a world.
Shout out to Fan Anna.
Right. But I like to think that I've created a space where they know they can be their truest selves.
Oh, yeah.
And granted, they still have to. There is a mask in a sense because they have to be my daughters and they have to play that role in a sense. Right?
Yeah.
But I feel like I've created a place for all of us to truly love, appreciate, acknowledge each other's issues, and be.
What were your 3 things? The second
one is we're all insecure.
Insecure.
Number 2 is
Mask.
we wear a mask, and number 3 is we don't know we're wearing a mask.
So I have points with all 3.
Okay.
So the first one with insecurity, I believe. I mean, I'm insecure. We all have insecurities. That should be no surprise. If it is a big shocker, welcome to life. However, I think a good place to be is get to a position where you're secure with your insecurities.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, I have these insecurities, but
I don't know everything about everything. I walk into spaces that I've never been in, so the insecurity really comes down like I don't know what the rules are in this space. Who are the leaders? Who are the structure?
I'm nervous, but I still got to do what I got to do. I got to do it nervous. I got to do it happy. I got to do it, it's not the first time I've been nervous, anxious, or sad or whatever. But you still got to go through it. Or it's not the first time I've been triggered. But do I know how to fight with myself? Do I know how to negotiate with myself through whatever I'm feeling? Through that insecurity, right? Do I know how to traverse that? Maybe I need time. Maybe I need an internal process. Maybe I need to talk to a good friend that I love. Maybe
get in there, man. You got this.
You know what I mean? They don't know you, son.
You're awesome. They're gonna love you.
So that's my piece on the insecurities, right? With the mask, I look at humans like there's a concept called fractals, and I'm pretty sure I've told you this before. Fractals is something that when you break, it turns into smaller versions of itself.
And it continues into infinity.
Right? Basically, right? It's when you derivative it down, it's this a smaller version of its same thing. Yeah. And I look at humans as fractals, like we're all very similar, if not all the same. So in that example, like think of a diamond, right? A diamond is multifaceted. There's so many different faces to a diamond, but each face reflects the same core. So
without getting deep, like you already got me down this. I'm trying to imagine this diamond. Go ahead.
Yeah, so if I'm a diamond and I'm shining my light through this diamond, it doesn't matter whether I meet you at work or I meet you at the gym or on the dance floor, whatever. The essence of me that's coming through that face is still me.
Through that,
I maybe start talking in more verbose and eloquent words and pontificate upon length on the type of things that I'm thinking. But I'm still saying the same. The essence of what I'm saying is still the same. So for that mask thing, I think it's more important that you understand who you are, and the mask is more like an outfit.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, and the outfit doesn't wear you; you wear the outfit. Right.
Wholeheartedly.
And what was the third thing, please?
We don't know we're wearing a mask. Most of us don't even know.
And I think that's what comes down to awareness and mindfulness.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like I need to know when I should hopefully know when I'm being triggered, because then I don't project onto somebody else and inadvertently cause some nonsense. I need to know if I'm interacting with somebody, okay, maybe this way of saying it is not proper for them. Maybe I'm in a particular setting where I can't use this exact analogy, but can I switch the variables around to still deliver the point?
Right. Okay. Right? That's smart. So that's you're catering your message to your audience.
But it's the same message.
Same message.
I'm still selling the same solution. Yeah. I'm just presenting a use case that's more aligned to what we're discussing or who I'm interfacing with.
So how do you know when you feel love?
When I feel love?
Yeah.
I think it would be the inverse of exactly what I mentioned earlier. When I'm in an environment where I feel like I can be myself and people accept me and we can just, kind of just... Because it's just no. It's more so on like, man, I'm smiling.
You're gonna break the microphone.
I'm sorry. Let me move this back. How do I know when I feel loved? I'm around a group of people that allow me to be myself, and that is, I know it sounds like a very vague answer, but when I feel comfortable to express myself, the way I am with myself inside, I can be that way outside.
Right.
That's how I know that's love, because not everybody's going to agree with me, my lifestyle, or things that I do, but and they don't have to. I don't have to agree with everybody else, but we don't have to make it a point of contention. Now, that's just the love aspect, but that means nothing without respect, because you could just be enabling me to do bullshit. You really could, right? But if you respect me,
I've laid into you a handful of times.
but if you respect me and you know my mission and you know where I'm trying to go, man, I don't think I'm gonna go to the gym today, motherfucker. Ain't that what? Aren't you trying to you're gonna realign to the goals? And I think that's really important. So that respect and love factor really comes into play.
Tie together.
It's almost like respect. Love is the essence of the soul. Respect is the silhouette of the soul.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
You're going to pump me up with this good essence, right? And I feel good. I feel loved. I feel all that stuff, whether it's from a mother figure, father figure, whatever. But then, I like to say my mother, right? But my father would show you how to live the life. This is how, constraints, discipline, all this stuff.
Right.
I'm trying to assign kind of roles and stuff. This is all arbitrary, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so.
The love is the air in the balloon. The balloon itself is respect.
It's deeper. The love is the deepest part of that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't exist without the respect.
Yeah.
True love doesn't. The answer also, it just depends.
And this is my answer. I'm not saying this is right.
Yeah,
Again, this is
100%.
just
Yeah. Don't take any of this under advisement. This is purely for entertainment purposes. We are not authorized love therapists or whatnot. Purely for entertainment
We're not
purposes.
Hitch?
We're not Hitch. I'm not. You look like him, but
no.
Next, I couldn't help but notice something that I wanted to talk to you about. And that is this entire idea of the dating world as it stands today. And the biggest observation for me being, I feel like there's a war going on. There's women versus men. And then obviously this is what's being portrayed on the popular media and a lot of the news feed. But this idea that all men are toxic and that all women are, fill in the blank, I don't even know. What's the word for it?
Toxic, I guess.
Toxic, yeah.
Toxica.
And I'm saddened by it because my daughters are now aging up, and I'm like, crap. What are they going to encounter? Interestingly enough, right? I have daughters, so hearing men go on and on about how toxic women are or how terrible they are. I don't know if they've actually used that word because that's the word being used against men, toxic masculinity and whatnot. I have a lot to say about this, but having not only a partner that I love dearly, who I feel has been the best match for me and that has been the most empowering human being I've ever
Shout
had
out
in my life.
Mamacita.
But also I'm raising 2 daughters, so hearing the hatefulness aimed at women in general is really disheartening. Yeah, yes. But before I go into wax poetic on that, what are you seeing? What are you experiencing? What are you hearing from people in your age, because you're out there?
Yeah. So there's a lot of Instagram. There's a lot.
Podcasters.
It's kind of
built
podcasters.
Right.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of weird now.
Podcasters that are, dude, you're gonna break my poor.
Your sound system.
You're gonna break the editor's ears.
Oh. But so my thoughts. You said something earlier for entertainment purposes, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of stuff out there in the media it's the media, right? Its whole purpose is to gain attention and gain following. So there has to be an entertainment component.
Yeah.
And that's also inspiring. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think what's wrong with that is, or the issue that can arise from that is, a lot of people may not have as much dating advice and are taking dating advice from others. So it's one thing to learn martial arts from a textbook, and it's another thing to be in the dojo and have some skin in the game. So for me, I hear a lot of influencers, hear a lot of stuff they're talking about, but I'm in these proverbial streets. You know what I mean? So
Stop, son. You don't know nothing about these streets.
So, and not saying that they don't, but kind of going back to that love and respect conversation that we just had, right?
Okay, good, perfect. Let's bring back in, baby.
I believe I have a lot of respect for myself and I have a lot of love for myself. So I'm going to, and I also don't have a lot of time. I don't, it's just with life, I don't have,
But you're a young man. How can you not have time?
because I don't make a lot of time to do a lot of things. I'm focused a lot of, so thank you for asking that question. I'm focused on things that are pushing me in directions that I need to go in. That's why I have a certain physique. That's why I have a certain financials. That's why I have certain mindset. That's why I have certain things, because all of those things take time.
Yeah.
Right. So, and even in a strengthening relationship, like all these things take time, and I don't have infinite amount of time.
Infinite amount of time to what specifically?
I don't have infinite amount of time to just be out there in the streets.
Dating.
Yeah, exactly.
4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Okay. But however, that being the case, when I am engaging with people, it's based off of respect first, right? And are they treating me like are they treating me the way I would like to be treated? Are they stepping me correctly, and am I treating them the way they would like to be treated? And that's the respect factor. And you're not going to know that until you actually are in engagement with somebody, right? Because they may be from a different culture, they may be from a different demographic. Like you don't know these things until you actually start interacting with them. But also, let me go back to that love component. Is there a lust there? Because that's important. Is there attraction there? There's all these things, right? So I think when I see in a lot of social media about the manipulation, about the narcissism, about the games and all this stuff, right? Like, I have enough strength in my character and I have enough confidence in my ability to just be myself that I know there's a population of people that will just innately love who I am, period. And will just innately respect who I am. And if that's not one of you guys, that's fine, right? And like, that's cool. Right, so, but the ladies, or like just the people in general, because this doesn't just go for like romantic. This is also friendship.
Yes.
Like, right,
Absolutely.
Like this isn't just a relationship thing. Like, bro, are you treating me with respect? And based on that, can we come to a mutual alignment that like maybe, hey, girl, I'm really attracted to you, and maybe we want to try and explore things in a different arena. Maybe not. Who knows? But can we even have that conversation, right? But these games and stuff like, this is the pickup line. Like, the best pickup line is,
hi, you're cute. Not you, but.
Why'd you look into my soul?
I want you to feel that for the audience.
But yes, bro, like, basically, right? Like, hey.
My approach to life in general has been to not participate in the negativity.
Shit.
So, and this is every aspect of my life, not just
I wish I said
dating.
that. I wish I said that.
So it's just not participate in the negativity. Meaning, like, I don't need to hear that dialogue. I do agree that there are toxic men. I do agree that there are toxic women. But the generality that all women are toxic or money hungry and all this, that all of them are, is untrue. And I can guarantee you that because I have 2 daughters. So if only 2 of them exist, then obviously that entire mindset is already not possible. There are individuals that show characteristics that are negative, that are hateful, that are toxic, and in each group. But just like we can't say all black people are one thing, all Mexicans are another thing, all Europeans are one thing, all marketers are this, all attorneys are that. You cannot really say that with universe and be a universal truth. It is flawed thinking. So starting off with that. Next, I try to show up into every aspect, every context of my life, and every room that I show up as the best version of myself. And in just doing that, and as the best version of myself with no expectation on the other, you don't know who the other person is and what they've been through in life. And the person that I end up befriending, letting into my circle and becoming my partner will mirror that, will show up. I am a very corny man. I am the goofiest, geekiest, like flawed man, and I wandered around the world making a bunch of mistakes, showing up as my goofy, flawed self. And I kept on improving in that. But by showing up as that person, I feel like it detracted others from showing up in my space. If people show up and just are vomiting hatred and negativity, it doesn't take very long to realize that, A, I don't want you in my circle. I'm not going to engage in that because that's not the type of conversation I want to engage in. We can engage in a debate, but I'm not going to engage in on hating on people, on gossip. So those people, and I'm corny, people will leave. You will detract those individuals, and that's been true for me. I don't participate in those conversations. I don't engage in those conversations. And not to say that I'm ignorant to them. I know that they're happening all around me, and that the reality of the world, there is some hatefulness, there is some ugliness. But those individuals, when it comes to being in my social circle, drop off. And eventually the people that actually matter show up. I've been lucky enough to have some beautiful human beings in my life and dated some amazing human beings. It didn't work out because we were on different paths, but they were good people. I'll stop there. I feel like you have a ton of shit to say. Drop it.
No, I think that's a good addition to this topic. One thing I did want to mention or add on to that is, especially when we start talking about toxicity, right? That term gets thrown around so much.
And it's, yeah.
And
it's even in popular media. I get it. It's in movies.
This is how I look at it for me, because I can only be accountable for myself, right? I attract what I am.
You attract what you project.
However, I retain what I can tolerate, right? So, if there are people who think I'm too open, people who think, oh, Chris is just always happy and just too positive. Cool. Kind of sounds like you're not going to be a fit for me anyway, right? Like, it automatically,
in business, like when I'm trying to work with someone, the first things we're trying to do as a business owner, as a marketer, when I'm trying to talk to a client, we're trying to figure out if we're a good fit.
Yes.
They have money and they have needs.
Why am I going to sell you a product that you don't need?
Yeah, like
I want this to be a good partnership. Like, girl, come on.
I think at a younger age, because I didn't have a lot to offer, I can speak from absolute with absolute confidence about this about myself. So I didn't have much to offer the marketplace. I was young. I was dumb. So I jumped many a times in my youth at any woman who just showed a mild bit of interest. Now, I didn't vet them. It wasn't a good fit. And looking back, I know I wouldn't actually have continued that relationship, but I was too horny and too just wanting to jump into a relationship at that time. I didn't know myself yet, and I didn't know what was out there and what people were capable of. So I let toxicity in at times because I didn't know what that even looked like.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, like the man I am now.
Okay, I know where you're going with this. Because this is another not hot topic, but a great topic. Go ahead.
The man I am now, if I was to go back to, let's say, like my first ex in life, we might still be together, because the things that I have learned on how to manage my emotions, how to regulate expectations, and how to set boundaries that I didn't have then, I'm so much better on.
And how to have conversations and arguments.
How to fight, how to do all these things.
What expectation did you have of me?
We already made a podcast about that.
It's the same.
But it's the same thing.
Tied to that.
Yeah.
Like, why are we arguing? Well, you didn't do X, Y, and Z. Oh, this is another part that my buddy introduced me to. It's expectation and agreement. It's about the agreements or the lack of agreements. Like a person can have an expectation. So when you were younger, you didn't know. I'm still learning. I had a girlfriend that used to be pissed at me because I didn't have Southern gentlemanness. I didn't have, what do they call that?
Southern hospitality.
Hospitality. When men are supposed to do certain things, there's a phrase for it, like opening the door or walking on one side of the.
You don't open doors for women, bro?
I do now. Shut up. But even that's dumb. Why? She can open up her damn door. I didn't know. I was raised in the hood, and nobody taught me that there is There's certain rules. So she would light my ass up. Little did I, how are you supposed to do these things if nobody is showing you? So she taught me a handful of those.
And honestly,
things.
and that's part of life. A lot of lessons that I've learned through confrontation, conflict, and strife like that. So
And breakups.
And hell yeah, right? So, but then I reflect. I don't know how many people actually do this, but I reflect. Okay, what was my involvement?
No, it's just her fault. She just sucked.
That's a cop out,
right? Is it? No. She's toxic. She's terrible.
Okay.
I'm the perfect man.
Okay.
I have money in the bank.
I know you don't believe that. I know. But that's funny though. And there probably are people who really do think like that. But I'm sure there are people who really do think like that. But that takes away from your own power. Like when you
Didn't you know I'm a catch?
When you take time to actually work on yourself and reflect on how you aided into whatever outcome came, not emotionally, just like, okay, where could I have been better? Where could I have been stronger? Where could I have been more clear? Boom, 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 boom,
Yes.
boom, 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 boom. When you start doing stuff like that, you make yourself better for the next person. And if that doesn't work out, and if you continue this process, you're refining yourself, right? And that's the work. You're doing the work. You're doing the work to be a better person. And like you may not be the ideal version for the person you're with now, but maybe the next person, and vice versa. And I think you have this saying that I love a lot. You said like all your exes upgraded after you.
Yeah, and so did I. 100%. So Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership.
Oh yeah, good book.
I already had this idea of self. Like it's just in my nature for some reason. It always has been, but the book kind of clarified it even more. It's like taking extreme ownership of every situation you're in. Now, it doesn't mean that it's your fault, but you are at fault in some capacity or have some responsibility. Excuse me too. You have some accountability in creating the situation, or at least not knowing how to manage it. There is some ownership. And for me, that's the biggest thing because it all starts with self. Because if you take an audit of your life, and this is, women are very guilty of this, and so are men. If the story you tell about all your exes is that they sucked, then you have a problem. You're not being honest and you're not emotionally aware enough to realize like you participated in those. You chose those individuals. So therefore, what can you do to make a change? I have this basic philosophy, and it's to your point. And I realized that I was doing this over the course of my life that led me here with my current partner. But with every relationship, major relationship, that I got into from marriage to, I think I had maybe three girlfriends before I finally found this one who's amazing.
Shout out Mamacita.
I can't. Too many shots out. Everyone can teach you something. The first major one was my divorce. I actually commented on somebody's post on Instagram and somebody said, what was one of your biggest mistakes that you ever made and you learned from? And I said, divorce. That was my biggest and best mistake because I had to acknowledge that I am an absolute mess. I didn't know how the world operated. I didn't know how to show up as a man. I didn't know this and that. Like I learned so much for it, and it actually was my best education. That particular response has over, I want to say 600, 700 likes because people resonated with that.
That's a lot of likes.
That's because people, and I was crazy because I still look at it and like, wow, it's still popping up. The point of that being, like, she taught me a whole lot, and I had to restructure myself and my worldview. Big time. So I started setting, every relationship should help you set up new parameters, new rules for how you're going to show up and who's going to come into your world and who you're going to accept as a partner. Next big relationship, and there was some other people I dated and learned a lot. Next big relationship. Didn't work out. It was a fantastic relationship. But I learned a lot more about myself and what other boundaries I needed to set. Next relationship. By the time I got to my girlfriend, my current partner, I had a lot that I had already set up. So by the time she came into my circle, a lot of, what did I just say? What's the word? Guidelines and rules. Not say rules, but I showed up in the world as a much better version of myself than that flawed young man that got married. So by the time she showed up and made it through the filters, it's been a match.
Because It's not about finding the right person.
Now you're needy. Yeah.
It's about being the right person.
Oof. And that was it. For me, I knew I was a catch, but I also knew I had worked on a ton of things about myself and how I showed up. I was no longer a little boy. I had finally become a man.
By your own standards.
By my own standards, right.
Definition. And not society or some influencers. Yeah,
because I'm a corny, geeky dork.
That's like, what's the fucking term? High value man, high value woman type stuff.
Yes. I just feel like I am the best version of myself, my truest version of myself. Do me a favor, tap on your face. Oh no, there he is. I'm the truest version of myself. I don't make excuses for the dorkiness. I keep saying that because I am by no means some hunk. And I have a beautiful partner, and she selected me. Whoa. But she saw something in me. Now, I did want to talk about, while I was dating a little bit before that, I stopped doing the swiping in the apps years ago. I just didn't find the value in it, and it was just more of a waste of time. It seemed more like an interview.
But it has to be, right? Because you're trying to get to know somebody very rapidly, right? And like I always, so something like that's you're
working the numbers.
You're working the numbers,
but
right?
So if we can,
let me just add this tidbit.
My bad.
I always tell people, like, have a good sense of self, know what you like, know your hobbies, and tend to meet people doing the things you love.
There was what changed my life.
Because at least then you have something that you love in common, right? We met dancing, right? So we're both avid dancers, and we happen to also draw parallels in the way that we think, philosophies, people that we follow, books that we've read, existential concepts, and that really kind of cemented a more deeper bond between us. Mm-hmm. However, even if we had none of those, at least we like dance.
Yeah.
Right?
There's something that connects you.
It's not some random person I saw on the street, like, hey, brother, that outfit is fire. I need to get them shoes. Like, let's be friends. Well, how much true, deep context and alignment do we have based on something as superficial as that?
Right.
You
could.
You could.
I mean, more than likely won't.
But that's for playing the numbers.
Yeah,
that's the same thing.
The numbers.
That's the same thing.
And we need to understand that we have to have a good offer in who we are, like our offer in the marketplace, and like who we are, like how we show up. Like
I think we just need to have a good offer for us. Right, because
I am very okay. Good point.
Because there's a lot of different.
In the mirror, I'm kind of like, dude, you're kind of a handsome motherfucker.
There's a lot of different, marketplaces, right?
Yeah,
so if you're going to align yourself to a particular marketplace, you're letting. This is not business, right? I mean, it is similar.
It is, and I guess the reason I put that out there is, I feel like a lot of people are putting themselves in a scenario where they're surrounded by or in a setting where that's not really the type of person that they want to partner up with. So they're in the wrong market. Just in that context.
And that's because they're not being themselves. And they're not like, if you're not happy where you are in life right now, you're not going to be happy with where your life with somebody else
with someone else in it.
Because what you're trying to do is you need somebody else to come and help you fix your life, right? Like, get happy with your life first. Know thyself, enjoy thyself, and solitude helps a lot with that. Like, because I've been spending a lot of time in solitude.
You should meditate that you were dead when you were a kid.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's no surprising that I do a lot of solitude, right? Adding more to the time, because again, even with solitude,
being alone,
that's time with myself. That's time I'm not doing not only the activities I need to do, but also time I'm not engaging with you or various other friends that I have in life. So. Yeah, just be happy with thyself first.
So going back to the whole dating, right?
Yeah. And this is still under the foundation of respect and love.
Yeah. Well, there has to be a foundational element of respect.
Correct.
I think what ends up happening too much and what I'm seeing is that there's like both parties show up almost like going to war on a date or trying to make sure that you're not toxic and you're not toxic.
Yeah. And, I can't say there's anything wrong with that because I like to believe that they're employing the best strategy. They
have to. They're clearly using it.
Correct.
Right.
But honestly, a much better marker for me is how happy are you? Right. Because there's some people that come in and they just it doesn't matter what they're just happy, or they're just happy,
Right.
And they're happy because they have strict boundaries. They're like, no, I'm not going to go that way. And when I say that, I'm not saying that they're avoiding conflict or they're avoiding
But they
unpleasantries
know
of life.
themselves enough to know where they will and will not go. I guess my big point in bringing that up is they're coming to it as a battle as opposed to just a conversation.
Yeah.
And then not an expectation that this person might be a bad person. They're filtering for
Yes.
negativity.
Yes.
As opposed to just getting to explore the person. Like
Correct.
they already have a story they're showing up with, and they're like,
I have it's almost like, look, I have this cutout of a story of a person. Do you fit into this puzzle piece? Okay. Versus, who are you?
yeah, like just exploring for this. And I guess I get it because you're trying to work through it, and you're trying to find your partner, and you're trying to marry, and like now you're
you've put a lot of time restrictions. You put a lot of different things, and I talk to a lot of books that I've read always talk about the value of talking to people in hospice, people who are about to die and live life, and even myself, I found a lot of value in having much older friends than myself who've lived 2 to 3 times.
Is that why you talk to me? Because you think I'm going to die?
No.
Son of I am.
I hope not. I mean, we all are. We all are, right?
We're one day closer to death today.
But in talking to those people who've lived life, who've gone through a lot of different experiences, they value things a little bit differently. And then when you recognize what those people value, you for me at least, I gotta value myself, and I may explore this woman in conversation and whatnot. And it's like, are we just in alignment? Right. But for people who to put time constraints, or I need to be married by this, I need to have kids by this, those are real factors, especially as women biologically, and even as men. We also have some biological stuff that we have to be upon. But you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to meet somebody,
and on that individual sitting across from you.
Exactly.
I don't know. I feel like it's an unrealistic expectation when you first meet or when you're dating.
Well, but I think a lot of social media also puts in people's head like, yo, why aren't you married by this age? Why don't you have kids by this age? Why, and the society as a whole, right? Not, okay, are you financially ready to support a family? Do you have the emotional intelligence and the conflict resolution strategies to engage with somebody over an extended period of time? Are you happy?
Got help for your trauma?
Have you got help for your trauma? Yes.
Otherwise, we're going to trauma bond.
Do you know your attachment styles? Yeah. Do you know, it's just like all these different things, right? And these are all strategies to help you regulate yourself, but also be with a partner.
So going back to the idea of I don't invest and engage in the negativity, it served me in the sense that I don't waste energy.
Shit.
Right. So, and kind of to wrap this conversation up, I raised 2 girls. They're now
2 amazing young women. I know they always
said that every single podcast.
Because you keep mentioning these girls are grown.
They're grown.
Granddad.
They're I am a grandfather. It's crazy. I'm not that old. I am older. 20 and 18. So the idea that they're going to go into the dating scene and possibly
21, actually.
Hold on.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Let me tell this story. Let me set this one up.
I get excited.
Is crazy. However, maybe they don't even have to. And it's crazy to me because their very first partners, their very first boyfriends, are actually fantastic human beings. The oldest one is now a mother, and her partner, the father, is a fantastic man, a young man. And like she just went and did that thing. She wanted to start building a family.
Shout out King of Rome.
King of Rome. I don't follow.
King of Rome, Cesar.
Oh, see, you lost me there.
Caesar.
Oh,
come on.
King of Rome, Caesar. Gotcha. Cesar. Got it. So she's not going, at least for the foreseeable future, how to engage in that. But at the same time, she has had to filter to find that partner. He's actually a really good person. It's crazy. I'm the dad. I hang out with him. I might eventually bring him on here. I don't know if he's open to that idea because, he's a young man. He can be a little overwhelming. But the point being, I have a podcast that hasn't been released yet where he was in the room while we were recording it. So that was pretty neat. But she was prepared, I think, through my own experience and how I was showing up in the world, and she's been able to filter. Because at the end of the day, we filter for a version of ourselves. We don't want someone identical to us, but a version of someone that has the same values, beliefs, core, fundamental operating systems. And she did. My younger one, she's done the same. They're both supposed to be trash. Sorry. Like the first partner, the first boyfriend, like the first person that they really settled down with is supposed to be trash. They're supposed to be terrible. I'm supposed to be having to counsel them and say, no, he's a terrible human being. He just wants to go to bed with you. And like, but they actually are. This kid, my youngest one, her boyfriend's a pretty cool ass dude. Humble, outgoing, friendly, hilarious.
So one thing I think that you've done really well, just like we're inviting you all into our conversations and how we talk, you have these kind of conversations with your daughters.
Yes.
So you get to share with them your filters that you've painstakingly got through life.
Yes.
Right. And now
heartache.
To a ton of heartache. So now, and they've got through some experience. They've got to battle test this through some experiences in their relatively short lives. Right. That now, when they go out into the world, they're already going with some filters. It's like,
and that's a great point because I didn't have any of that.
You didn't have any of that. I
literally was screwing up left and right.
Exactly, and I think a lot of people don't, because especially in Western society, like how many of your parents are talk to you guys about sex? How many of your parents are talking to you about trauma? How many of your parents are talking to you about how you handle your emotions? No, most people are working. Right? Most people don't have time to actually
don't have the skills themselves.
They don't even have the skill set themselves. So now you have what they proverbially say, kids having kids, right?
I've opened up to them at times now as they're older and actually shared. One day, me and Carla had a huge fight. It was one of the worst fights ever. And my daughters were here and I opened up. I'm like, we just had a fight. Man, it was ugly. Girls start laughing like, wow. Like, but openly talking about how then we got through it.
Yeah.
Like how we eventually, and it was a bad one, actually. That was one of the most eventful ones. And they took a while to unpack and kind of sit back down.
Chancletas were just flying?
No chancletas. She's not that kind of Mexican. She's not throwing chancletas. But it took us a while to sit down and actually talk through it, and find a resolution and acknowledge each of our mistakes and a resolution around it. But I opened up to the girls about that. I wanted them to know how we worked through it. And Carla chimed in. And then they shared how sometimes they've had to work through that as well. But we're not taught how to have a conflict resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's up?
Did you just respectfully and lovingly create a container where you could be yourself and that your daughters could be yourself and address an issue?
And I said it first.
Oh, did you take leadership in your household and expose your emotions in a loving way?
I did that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, my God.
Okay. That doesn't tie into anything.
I was vulnerable in sharing
Yes.
the father that you love and that raised you actually is flawed and got into an argument. And this is how we resolved it.
Or how we're resolving
it and how we tend to resolve it. And sometimes it means taking a big break. I actually had to take a walk that day. I'm out. I actually wrote about it, so it may not come to a complete surprise to anybody that reads my stuff. But it was, for me, is essential to be honest with them and not pretend that I have it all figured out, and I don't. And when it does break, like, hey, let me share this story. And Carla's fantastic because she's open to it as well. Yeah. At first, she was like, "Oh, you're going to talk about this, okay?" But we shared it, which then allowed them to say, "Okay, I'll tell you about my arguments and how we're working through them." And I think that's the biggest lesson here for me is we ask our kids how they're doing, or wander around the world asking questions instead of being vulnerable and leading. And I read this in a book years ago: is be first. Like whatever you want in the world, be first.
So I'm going to use an analogy because I love analogies.
Yeah, everyone loves analogies.
I feel like a lot of people that probably watch our stuff are going to be dancers because we're plugged into. Maybe not. Okay.
No, dude. But I blow this up everywhere.
That's true. All right. Well, I know the dancers will resonate this. Hopefully people who don't dance. But
I know where you're going.
In dancing, social dancing, partner dancing, there's a concept of a lead and a follow, right? And if you see anything Dancing with the Stars or whatever, you're seeing the follow, whoever the follow is, man or woman, is doing these very elegant, beautiful movements and everything. And the lead is doing a similar version of that, just maybe on a less grand scale, to imply what the movement should be. So that's the lead and follow dynamic. Similarly, in your relationship, you modeled, hey, girls, I'm going to trust fall into you as your dad and share this with you.
Trustful, yeah.
I'm going to
That's
lean
essentially
into,
what, yeah.
I mean,
I didn't think about that.
I'm going to share something. I don't know if you're ready to share this, but I'm going to share this anyway. So, that trustful, that leading, that model, right? And this is not, and I say leader, but that's not, I'm not speaking man, woman, lead follower, right? Like
There's no lead without a follow.
Yeah, and if you're in any kind of friendship, partnership, it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
It should go back and forth if you want harmony, right? Like, it's not going to be one way all the time, but you've trust fallen so much into your family that they have trust fallen back into you. Mm-hmm. So much so that your daughter has ingrained upon her flesh the family crest of the Aides.
Yeah, so actually, both of them have. But the youngest one just did yesterday or 2 days ago. There's a lot of family rituals, a lot of things that we do that they've both adopted and believe in. I think that as a family, you have to have those rituals. You have to have stories about your family to help them feel like they're a part of a bigger thing. And that bigger thing for them is this family and what we stand for and what we represent as an Aguirre. What do we do? How do we show up in the world? So that's all part of it. And the last part, which I didn't, they had to opt in on their own, and they did. My older one actually did this when she turned 18. She placed a tattoo. I have a tattoo of a red spade, which is, for me, has become our family crest. A red spade. I'll share the story of why some other time. And on it, I did this about 7 or 8 years ago. I also have their initials. My oldest one actually did it a couple years ago. She surprised me. She's like, guess what? And she sent me some pictures from the tattoo shop, and she was getting it done. She opted in. And that for me was like, wow, like that's how much they believe in our story and what we represent and who we are as a family. Then my younger one turned 18, and now she's about to be 19. She got it done a couple days ago. She was excited. She was nervous, but she did that as well. And I joked with her, like, now she's officially part of the family. But she's officially part of, like, the next level of, like, you went as far as to put it on your skin. She's very proud of being a part of this clan, right? This part of this tree, this division of this family tree. And that, to me, was one of the biggest ways. Like, and they've shown me in many other ways, but that was one of the biggest ways that they showed me how much they love who we are and what we represent. She put it on her. She was bleeding all over the place. She's a bleeder.
And I think, kind of tying it all back, that goes back to love and respect.
Oof.
Right? Because,
and that's how we're going to end the show. Let's go.
Essentially. Because everything that we've progressed to from that initial point in this conversation doesn't happen unless you have that foundation.
Yes.
And the first person that needs to have that shit is thyself. So I just wanted to essentially point that out as we conclude, because this is dope. Again, I don't really get to talk to this guy unless it's in front of a camera.
I tell him to not. I'll drop some hot topic or question, and he's like, I'm like, hold off, don't answer it. Let's answer it.
Yeah, now I can't even talk to him unless it's on camera, so that we can capture my thoughts and our thoughts live.
We go deeply philosophical, all over the place. But finish your thought, please.
But essentially, just think about some of the stuff. I'm not saying that we have all the answers, but these are the answers that have worked for me.
You know what I thought about earlier? Like, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on relationships, on parenting, on any of that, because I have no degrees. Take this as you will. Test it for yourself. But I am an expert in me. I am an expert in my life. And these stories are real, and this is how I've lived it. And I am stupid happy. And if I can share some of my lessons and some of my stories, my experiences, maybe, and that's what I hope I did for my girls, is I shared those stories openly with them. I was vulnerable. I was not ashamed of making the mistakes that I did. In fact, if I can keep them from not making them, they're gonna make some of them. They're gonna touch that hot stove nonetheless. But if they can then learn, like, oh, that's what Dad was talking about.
Yeah, they can learn it quicker. They don't have to touch it 4 more times before they get it.
They're like, oh, damn it. Because too many people actually do that.
Because now what happens? Now you have a scar.
Yeah. And now the lessons are there. So take that as you may, for entertainment purposes. Don't go out there and cross the street without full guidance and looking both ways.
Yeah.
The street of life, actually.
But guys, ladies, gentlemen.
Well, you're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, just wrap it up.
You can sign it up. You can sign us off.
I can sign us awesome. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been awesome to be brought back here to talk to Mr. Aida himself. And we hope that you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, shoot them our way.
We would love, actually, that's a great point. We'd love to have your questions. Anything that you'd love to ask us as to how we operate, how we engage, or anything. Like, if anything's inbound, as long as it's not hate or anything like that, we're good.
Peace, love, and positivity.
See ya! Bye-bye.